So now you take a plane. You arrive to an Airbnb and you're starving. You go to a supermarket and very quickly you notice the prices. Belgium is way more expensive than Mexico. Eggs, pickles, and coffee, and that's your breakfast. After, just getting to know the city. It is cold and humid, but at least the bus arrives on time. You look the city through the window, so different from your country, so calm. And you see the architecture, just like a fairy tale. You visit the cathedral in honor to San Miguel and San Gudulo, the Saint Patrons of the city of Brussels. You get mesmerized with the Gothic Bravantine architecture, and with the tainted glass that is there from the 16th century. There are some people organizing representations of the Christmas Eve. There are representatives from many countries, including Spain, others from Latin America, and even Lebanon. Soon it will be Christmas. After some minutes, you leave the church. Now you walk through the garden of the Mont des Arts. You see the statue of the King Albert I, who opposed the Germans during the First World War. He is considered a hero despite the fact that 90% of Belgium was conquered. The garden is small. It's winter, so there are not many flowers. It is a cloudy day, but the view is nice. You take some pictures of graffitis and the many homes of the homeless people. There are tons in Belgium, but during the day, the streets are clean. The autumn trees guide your way. You are heading to the Great Square. While going there, you see monuments and statues, each of them with their own story. Since you are a visitor, you pay attention, but the locals don't look at them. The same way you don't look at your monuments in your hometown. The smell of the restaurants around you is very attractive, from Belgian waffles to French fries or frites that you will learn to love so much during this trip. You arrive, but the tour has already started. You get close and you hear that the Grand Square was founded in the 13th century, 3 centuries after the creation of the city. In that time, the buildings were made out of wood. In 1695, France bombarded Brussels and the city hall for 3 days. After that, the Grand Square was renewed in 1698. The guide explained you the time when Victor Hugo, creator of Les Miserables, used to live in this Grand Square. He used to come out from the balcony and yell, "This is the most beautiful square in the world." And yes, it is a very nice square. There are other nice buildings in this square, such as the House of the King of Spain, where they used to collect taxes, the Old Brewer's House, the Museum of the Beer, the House of the Swan, where in the 19th century there was a tavern, where intellectuals used to talk and drink, and where Karl Marx wrote many pages of the Communist Manifesto. It was here in Belgium when he came with the idea of vacation or free days. There are still parts of the wall that surrounded Brussels during the medieval times, before the 14th century. The wall has a pentagon shape and it had 7 doors. But you don't care about these things. More than anything, you're just happy being here, doing what you love. The tour continues and the guys start to talk about a little sculpture called Mannequin Peace. Mannequin meaning little man in Dutch, and peace, which means urine. The original sculpture was lost in the 14th century. The oldest sculpture that still remains is in the City Museum. It is from the 16th century. That statue gets all the attention. It has more than 800 customs. It has even a Donald Trump's costume. The 16th century got his first dress. The King of France gave him his first costume. The sculpture is an homage to the kids that used to pee on the leather. Apparently pee is very important in the leather industry, and children's pee is the best. There were even people that taste with their mouth the urine, because adults used to sell the pee, and some of them used to cut it with water. Now you start walking, looking for a place to warm yourself up, but overall you're looking for that chocolate that everybody's talking about. Cacao comes from America, and chocolate comes from the Nahuatl word chocolatl. The Aztecs used to take chocolate as a beverage, and Spanish took cacao and imported to Europe, where it was very well produced, particularly in Madagascar, since cacao needs to be grown closer to the equator. But chocolate has nothing to do with Belgium. It just turned out that Belgian people loved chocolate, and they became masters of their craft. In Belgium you can find artisanal and industrial chocolate. Some companies, such as Godiva or Leonidas, started as an artisanal company and later became industrial. Artisanal chocolate must have, by law, at least 40% of cacao. You taste some samples of artisanal chocolate and you understand the difference right away. It is just delicious. Of course, in Belgium there are other treats and other sweets, but nothing is more loved than chocolate, not even waffles. Maybe beer, but you will learn about that in the future. Walking through the streets of Belgium, you arrive into a mural painted in a ceiling. They are the Smurfs, which are actually original from here. They are from the Ardennes forest in the Bologna region that you will visit very soon. You also see a mural of Tintin, a very beloved character from the 20s. Although not many people know that it was very Catholic and conservative. In some point of history, the chief of propaganda of the Nazi regime, Goebbels, approached to the creator of Tintin and requested to work with him. So for some time, Tintin was racist and fascist. Now you go to the Church of Our Lady of Victories at the Sablon. During the 14th century, 3 ships sailed through the Seine River, 2 of them with statues of saints and 1 of them with a statue of the Virgin. But only the ship with the Virgin arrived to land, so the church is in its honor. You end your day going back to the Grand Square, that now has a magnificent laser spectacle. And that was your first day in Belgium. You will learn about war, about culture, about beer, about recycling, about many other things. You will help people and you will party with them. But that comes later. For now, this was your first day. I hope you enjoy it.